All it takes is one lie to ruin a relationship. But unfortunately, that hasn't stopped people from telling the lies. And unfortunately, there are some men, and I stress some, that choose to lie to you over and over again. And you're wondering, why the hell can't these men just be honest? What is the purpose for the lie? Well, I'm going to explain that to you. My name is Stephan, aka Stephan Speaks, back with another relationship and dating advice for women video. And today we're going to be talking about the 5 reasons why men lie to women. Before we start, as always, be sure to like this video, share it, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification button, and comment below. Leave your feedback. Tell me what you're thinking. Now let's get to it. Men lie, and listen, women lie. People lie. It's a phenomenon. It's a habit that a lot of people engage in. But I'm going to explain to you why some men continue to do it. Now, yes, these things can apply to women as well, but we're going to focus on the motives of most of these men. All right. So number 1, to kick this off, he lies because if he told you the truth, he couldn't get what he wanted. So at the end of the day, the simplest, most common reason why somebody's going to lie is because they're trying to either avoid an unwanted outcome, and to kind of build on that, they don't feel like they can get the outcome they desire if they tell you the truth. Now, a perfect example of this, and let me make clear, I am not validating the lies. When I give you these explanations, I'm just explaining them to you so that you can understand. And please make sure you watch to the end, because there's always an important message I need you to hear, all right? But getting back to the point at hand, for example, you'll have women who say, well, why do these men, if they only want to sleep with you, need to lie? If they would just tell the truth, maybe they would get what they wanted. Shut it up. Just shut it. Like, don't stop trying to pass along this idea that men just saying they want sex is going to get them sex. If that was actually the case, more men would do it. If they really thought that could work, they would do it. So because they know, or at least they have experienced in their life, that more times than not, they don't get it when they say that's all that they want, they're not going to tell you that. Instead, they're going to dance around the situation. They're going to give you other key words that you need to pay attention to that at least hint at the likelihood that all they want is to get physical. Key words like go with the flow. Key words like, I'm not looking for anything serious, or key phrases. You know what I'm saying? Key things like, I don't know, let's just enjoy ourselves. Like these things are telling you that more than likely, he does want to just enjoy sex and hanging out with you, but he knows saying that flat out doesn't get him the outcome he desires. Now, again, we can go past that. Maybe you're already in a relationship and there's something that he desires. But again, if he thinks you're going to take issue with it, he'd rather find a different way to convey that desire, or just to act like he doesn't even want it. Now, again, I repeat, this is not to validate it, but this is why it happens. And essentially not everyone, a lot of people, most people, at some point in their life did the same thing. Maybe not about sex, but about different things that they desired from somebody, and they felt like being straightforward was not the best approach. Now, going back to the getting physical aspect, here's the crazy thing. And again, a lot of men can vouch for this, and some of you ladies will admit to this, where even in situations where you may have been interested in just having a casual relationship, the minute that he comes out and simply says to you, you are nothing more to me than to someone to sleep with, that actually could turn you off, even though you were going into it open to that kind of a relationship. What men have experienced is that women like or are more okay with those terms when they're dictating those terms. All right, when they're the ones saying to the man, I only see you in that way, so that's all I want to do. But when it's said to them with no option of anything else, a lot of women reject it. But anyway, I'm not going to dwell on that specific dynamic. The point here is men will lie because they think they can't get what they wanted if they told you the truth. All right, and so unfortunately, this is one of those things where we can sit here and tell men they shouldn't, and they shouldn't. And I will tell men, listen, you got to be as honest as possible. But as a woman, you got to be mindful of creating buffers or creating ways for you to better evaluate someone's real intentions, because unfortunately people aren't always forthcoming about it. And the better you get at seeing or reading through the lines, the better you can be at avoiding the nonsense and moving past that issue or no longer entertaining that man. Now, the second reason why men lie, and this is all in no particular order, but the second reason is you can't handle the truth. That's it. Bottom line, you can't handle the truth. Now, before you get upset at me, all right, and feel some kind of way, let me break this down and explain. Now, let me first acknowledge that some of you can't handle the truth, all right? And I applaud y'all for those who can. But the reality is that a lot of men have received backlash when being honest, all right? Even when being honest without ill intention, even when being honest and trying to establish a healthy relationship, their honesty was not met with a positive outcome or wasn't positively received, maybe because it wasn't what the woman wanted to hear, maybe it did not make sense to her, whatever the reason may be. Now, again, I do not validate lying for that reason, but this is a reason why it happens. Now, for those of you who are saying, well, that's a bunch of nonsense, we as women can handle the truth, I want you to take a deep breath and consider this. If you really think that as a whole, women tend to be able to handle the truth, then why aren't some of y'all honest with your friends and family? Why aren't some of y'all willing to confront your sisters, your mothers, your aunts about things they need to hear? I'm going to tell you why. Because you guys have told me in private. It's because you don't want to deal with the backlash. Some of you won't tell your friend what they need to hear because you don't want her attitude. You don't want to lose the friendship because she's going to feel some kind of way. And so many times as women, and again, this is not all women, but many women have seen this and experienced this when trying to give the hardcore truth, they're getting mad at you. And you're trying to you're trying to help them. You're being honest, not even to get something for your benefit out of it. You have nothing to gain, but by trying to be real with them, they actually retaliate against you. They actually now give you drama. And so a lot of women have seen this with, again, sisters, aunts, mothers, friends. So now, if you have seen this in your own life and experienced this, and you see that this woman is reacting this way to the truth that you are giving her, what do you think she's doing to a man? What do you think she's doing to someone she's sleeping with consistently? What do you think she does to someone she is more emotionally invested in? Because the more emotionally invested you are, the easier it is for you to be triggered. All right? It's easier for her to maybe hear from a friend, not easy, but easier to hear from a friend that maybe she needs to get in shape more than from the guy that she's dating and with. All right? Again, not all women, but a lot. A whole hell of a lot. Okay? And so you've got to be mindful of that and understand, if we can acknowledge this issue and we can be honest about the fact that, yes, this does happen. And a lot of women do struggle with hearing the hard truth. Then, if you want to create an environment that increases the chances of people being honest with you, you've got to make sure you check yourself and you're not that woman. You got to make sure that you receive people's honesty with a calm approach, with allowing yourself to process it, not just reacting. Maybe you need to pray first. Maybe you need to step away for a few minutes and really digest what was said. But you've got to make sure you are not the woman that makes it hard for people to be honest with you. And let me give you a sign that it's you that needs to address something within yourself rather than it's just men, right? If you're noticing that people in general have a hard time being honest with you, you got to look in the mirror. All right. If you can tell me that your friends, family, everybody is honest with you because they see how mature you are and how well you take it, but these damn men are still lying, okay, then we can say it's those specific men, get rid of them, end of story. But if you're noticing a pattern in your life where everyone seems to watch what they say to you and have to extra sugarcoat it to the point where it dilutes the message to where you don't really get honest truth from them, then yes, please do not take this as an attack. Do not take this as, an insult to you. Take it as an opportunity to grow and get better so that, again, you can minimize the dishonesty that you receive in your life because you're making it harder for people. But, of course, I would still encourage any individual to always be as honest as possible. So now let's move on to number 3. But before I do, real quick, get the book, Hes Lying Sis. We're talking about lying, so here it is. All right, click the link in the description or in the comment section. It's an amazing book that's helping a lot of women. It's going to break down a lot of different scenarios that women commonly face, tell you how to handle them, how to understand what's going on. It might be confirmation for what you already know. It might be that kick in the pants you needed. It might be an eye-opener, but one way or another, it is likely to help you. So please get your copy. Once again, Hes Lying Sis. Click the link below. Now, let's get to number 3. Number 3 is he's not comfortable opening up to you. All right. Now, this can be an issue of the environment that you're contributing to that makes it difficult for him, as well as his own issues that he has not resolved. The reality is that in general, a lot of men do struggle with opening up because a lot of men have not been raised to be expressive and to be transparent in those ways, especially when it comes to feelings and concerns and things of that nature. And unfortunately, a lot of men have had moments where they were vulnerable, they opened up, and either in that moment they were shut down, they were disrespected, they were devalued, or that moment was thrown back in their face. They were called weak, called out their name, all these different things. And so now many men, unfortunately, project that onto women in general. And they do come into it already hesitant to be very open and honest and vulnerable. Now, again, as a man, he has to be willing to address that issue and heal from the things that have hurt him. But as a woman, you do have to now understand, are you creating an environment that promotes honesty and transparency? All right. And vulnerability. So again, it kind of goes back to you can't handle the truth. You got to show it you can handle that honesty. You can handle that level of transparency. But also, it's not even just handling the truth as far as if it's what you want to hear or not. It's about when he's being vulnerable, knowing how to handle a man in that moment, knowing how not to make him uncomfortable, knowing how to not make him regret being open with you, knowing how to not throw it back in his face later on. That's a huge one right there. Because again, if he has a moment where he opens up and then later you throw it back in his face, it's over. He's shutting down from that point. So you've got to really check yourself and never allow yourself to get to a point where you use things against him like that. And also, a big way to increase honesty and transparency in any relationship is to be honest and transparent yourself and vulnerable. So if you want that man or the men that you come across to be more open, you've got to lead. I don't want to say lead, but you've got to be that example. You've got to show that you can engage in that same behavior. Because if you're walled up, if you're guarded, all right, that makes it harder for someone to feel safe around you. That makes it harder for them to feel like they can't open up to you. So you've got to make sure what kind of energy are you projecting in that situation, in that relationship. And again, this isn't just about this specific idea of helping people be more open with you. Doesn't apply to only romantic relationships. This can be with your children, with your family, with your friends. When we show them that we're willing to be open and vulnerable, it gives them the motivation or the extra kick to say, okay, I can do this too with you. All right. So consider that and consider, are you creating an environment that really promotes that kind of transparency? But again, yes, some men are just struggling, because of their past issues. And listen, let me make something very clear. Though I understand and acknowledge that there are men who have traumas, who have unresolved issues that contribute to their struggle to communicate and be open, that is not an excuse to accept the behavior, all right? So my thing is, if you're dating a man and you recognize he's struggling there, and that struggle, again, is not coming from a place of him trying to be intentionally toxic or intentionally mislead you or manipulate you, he just struggles with opening up. You have to address it. And of course, address in a calm, loving, positive manner. Now, if he is unwilling to correct it, or at the very least, work on correcting it and make progress, then guess what? You don't have to stay in that relationship with him. I'm not going to tell you to, because it's pointless, because now you will be basically enabling him. You will be rewarding the bad behavior. You will be saying it's okay to continue like this because I will remain not only in the relationship, but providing you with the benefits you desire. So what incentive is there for him to face his issues and become a better man while being with you? It actually undermines his growth, undermines your ability to now see progress in this relationship. So do not accept it, but not, again, in a malicious way, not in a, oh, well, you're just not the man I think you need to be, or you're not man enough. Nothing that speaks down on him. Simply saying, okay, you know what? You're not ready emotionally for us to have the type of relationship to behave in the ways necessary for us to have a healthy relationship. All right? Because communication, being open, being transparent, being vulnerable is huge. You can't overlook that if you want success in the long run. And so you've got to hold that standard, hold yourself to it, hold him to it. If he's not ready for that, cool. Maybe he can come back later and you guys can discuss at that time once he has grown in that area. But if not, do not allow that to be an excuse that you now accept and now basically set yourself on a path for a disastrous relationship. Which brings me to number 4. And the 4th reason why he keeps lying to you, or why men lie to women, is because you accept it. So again, piggybacking off what we just talked about, you can't enable, or you should not enable, the behavior of a man, whether it be a struggle to be honest with you or just blatant dishonesty. And here's the reality. You as a woman, your intuition is very strong. It's very on point. There have been plenty of times where you knew damn well that man was lying to your face. You knew he was being dishonest, but you accepted his explanation not because it made any damn sense, okay? You accepted it because you did not want to face the reality of his lies, because you did not want to face the consequences of acknowledging he lied. Because if you can now say, "Now I know you lied," end the story, you know it's going to be harder for you to remain in that relationship. So many of you have overlooked the lies because you wanted to keep the relationship going, not because you actually believed him. And so now this sets up 2 problems. Problem number 1, it allows him to think he can feed you BS and get away with it. So why would he stop? Anytime he feels the need or desire to lie to you, he will, because he knows you go for it, you accept it, you let him slide. But on the flip side, the other problem is, even though you remain in the relationship with him, you no longer trust him. Because the fact that your intuition told you he was lying, it doesn't just go away. You don't magically now start to believe that he's an upstanding individual who's always being honest with you. No, you start to now distrust everything he says. You now start to want to look through the phone, or at least you get tempted to, all right? Or you flat out do it. You start wanting to see where he's going. You start becoming more insecure in the relationship. So now, even if you remain there, here's the crazy part. Your insecurities become the main issue rather than his lying. All right? Because you accepting his lies gave him a pass. Now you start acting out in insecure ways, which is actually valid in the sense that you know damn well he lied to you. You know he's not being real with you. So naturally, you're not going to feel secure and you're going to behave in that way. But he now gets to put the spotlight on your toxic behavior, on your negative energy, and gets to deflect from the lies because you already gave him a pass. So the point that I'm trying to get at here is, when you accept in any way, shape, or form, you are going to destroy that relationship. It's inevitable at that point. You've got to get to a place where you two can truly resolve that concern of the lie that you felt he told, whether it be your intuition or sometimes y'all be having flat out proof, all right? And still let it continue in that relationship. And so again, it's one thing for a man that struggles, all right? And though I'm not validating it, saying it's okay, but I have seen men who don't have ill intention get scared in the moment and tell a lie. And to me, that's a correctable issue. That's someone that you can work with. Again, you address it, it can be corrected. But then there are many men that you will deal with who are blatantly lying to you, who don't care about how you feel, who are looking to manipulate and simply get their way. And you got to be able to acknowledge what that is when you see it. You cannot look past it. And you cannot allow yourself to continue in a relationship with that man, because you're only going to end up miserable, unhappy, and stressed the hell out. All right. But again, the point is, when you accept it, then you will see the lies continue to happen over and over and over again. And then now the last reason, but remember, I got a bonus message I got to tell you at the end of this. All right. The last reason is simply he's immature, and or he's just not that serious about you. So let's break that up. I could have made it 5 and 6, but I'm just going to put it all into 5, all right? And let me break it down one by one. So first, he's immature. So again, yes, there are men who have not learned how to properly communicate, who have not become confident in expressing what their desires are, how they feel, whatever's going on in their head. And that lack of maturity in embracing what they're feeling and being honest about it leads to lying. Again, this is not to excuse it. This is to explain it. And so immaturity is a problem. And again, as a woman, because we cannot control their level of immaturity, you've got to be able to recognize it, address it, and if it can't be corrected, you move on. We have to discuss how we're going to handle things moving forward and why this lying has to stop. All right. But I'm just saying one more time, yes, a lack of maturity, a lack of growth within an individual can lead to a lot more lying. I would argue that many people when they were younger probably found themselves lying more in situations than when they got older and they got to a place where, you know what, they owned how they feel, they own how they want, they're not playing that lying anymore. Because we also learn as we get older that lying is too much of a headache. It's too much drama. It's also too difficult to have to keep up with the lies, because if you lie once, you got to lie again to keep the story going. That's too stressful. So a lot of people, as they grow up, realize this ain't worth it anymore. But before they have grown up, and what we're talking about right now, that immaturity can lead to that man lying to you, and that's a him issue. It's not a you issue. That's not something that you can really teach him, other than you just, being the example of a healthy person and how we should communicate. But then the second part that I mentioned was he's just not that interested in you. And so the reality is that when we are not serious about people, we're not going to hold ourselves to the same standard. We're not going to come as correct as we should. Again, not an excuse, doesn't make it okay, but this is what happens. What I would argue that a man is more likely to lie in a casual relationship than he is with a woman he's very serious about or feels that he's in love with. All right? Because again, there's a more desire to make sure he doesn't mess things up. Whereas with the casual situation, it's like, hey, it's whatever, just say what I got to say at the moment to get what I want or to get the outcome I'm looking for. So the lack of interest will play into the willingness to be open, transparent, and honest. And again, that's not a you issue. That's a him issue. And you just have to recognize quickly if someone is not serious enough about you, if someone is not on the same page as you. And also understanding that, unfortunately, if you do allow yourself to entertain casual relationships, you almost have, I don't want to say expect that lies will be told, because I'm not saying there aren't people having casual relationships who aren't being fully honest with each other. I'm just saying that, when it's that kind of a relationship, it's very likely that person is going to be more free with the lies. They're going to be a little bit more willing to be like, hey, whatever, no big deal, because it's not that serious to them. All right. But that brings me to this bonus message I need you to hear. It's important as a woman that you understand whatever the reason is that the man lies, not to internalize it. Now, granted, I mentioned earlier, you do have to be mindful of the environment that you're creating, how you set the stage for honesty and transparency. But you do have to also understand that a lot of times when a man lies to you, It's about his issues. It's about what he has not addressed within himself. That maturity, that confidence in being vulnerable and open, that willingness to stand in truth, despite even if it doesn't get you what you want. That integrity that he has to build within himself. All right. So yes, be mindful of how you can contribute. But I see so many women dwell on, oh, why did he have to lie? Why did he have to lie? And it's like, yo, you're taking it very personally when that man was very likely going to lie to any woman that he would have dealt with in that exact same situation. Like, we could have switched you out with another woman. It would have been the same thing, very likely. Again, sometimes there will be differences depending on other factors. But in many cases, it's just him. And so you've got to recognize when you are dealing with someone who is not willing to be honest, not take that with you, not project one man's lies onto the next man. Because I've seen a lot of women, because they've been lied to so much by the wrong men, when they finally deal with a good man, a genuine man, they don't know how to take him at his word. Now they're overanalyzing him. They're thinking, well, he really means this, or this must be going on, rather than accepting he's telling you the truth. And I would argue that what you got to learn to do in general, what is in your best interest, is to take them at their word, but pay attention to what's going on. All right. And what I mean by that is this: the man who is honest with you, their words and their actions will be consistent. And they will line up together. There will be no, well, he says this, but he acts this way. Or he acts like this, but he says this. No, when he's genuine and serious, it will all come together and be consistent. So there's no reason for you to be questioning things. But when he's a liar, he's typically going to have inconsistencies, either in what he's repeatedly telling you, or in, again, he might say, I don't want a relationship, but he's acting like your boyfriend. Now, that means don't take his acting like a boyfriend to mean he wants a relationship. You still want to lean on the words in that scenario. But the point is, he's clearly not being very forthcoming with you about what his intentions are. Or actually, you know what? I take that back. Forgive me. That was a bad example. All right. Because in that situation, him saying, I don't want a relationship is actually what it is. And so let me just remind you, I actually break down that scenario in Hes Lying Sis, where he says, he doesn't want a girlfriend, but he acts like your boyfriend. Because there's a lot more to it than what I'm saying right now. So I take that back. Forgive me again. But the point is, pay attention to the actions and the words. Do they line up? Are they consistent? Be mindful of creating that environment of honesty. But do not take it personally to where you are carrying the damage and trauma of a man's lies and projecting it onto somebody else. Hey, thank you for watching this video. Be sure to check this one out right here. And I'll see you there. There will be men who want you. But more importantly, is for you to receive the man who values you. And when he's emotionally attracted to you, that value will be there. So I'm going to lay out for you the 7 signs that he's emotionally attracted to you.